Would you like to experience some of Prescott's colorful history? Well, there are a number of ways to do it. You can visit Whiskey Row, take a walk around Courthouse Plaza, attend the world's oldest rodeo, or visit the Charlotte Hall Museum. But if you'd like to capture the flavor of what Prescott was like back at the turn of the century, the 20th century that is, one of the best ways to do it is to spend a night or two in one of our historic hotels. Something that was true back in 1864, the year that gold was discovered here, and the year Prescott was founded, remains true to this day. People want to visit Prescott, Arizona, and they need a place to stay. Since Prescott's earliest days, the streets of downtown, in addition to our famous saloons, gambling halls, and maybe one or two brothels, were lined with hotels to fill that demand, and thankfully, some of those historic lodgings survive. 3 out of the 4 historic hotels still standing today were built as a result of fire. The Great Fire of 1900 that wiped out Whiskey Row and much of downtown prompted the construction of the Hotel St. Michael as well as the Grand Highland, and a subsequent blaze in 1923 made room for the design and construction of the Hassayampa Inn. The best thing about Prescott's vintage hotels is they are all within a block or less of the courthouse, and so are extremely popular with visitors, and maybe 1 or 2 ghosts. But I'll get into that a bit later. Standing on the corner of Gurley and Montezuma Streets, the Hotel St. Michael is referred to by some as the cornerstone of Whiskey Row. The St. Michael was built immediately following the fire of 1900 on the site of the old Burke Hotel. And in fact, it was partially constructed using bricks that were salvaged from the Great Fire. At 55,000 square feet and 110 rooms, it was the largest hotel and structure on Whiskey Row and remains so to this day. On the ground floor, in the space once occupied by the original lobby and barbershop, you'll find the Bistro St. Michael. The bistro was recently renovated and is now open for breakfast, lunch, and dinner 7 days a week. It offers a great menu, friendly service, and if you grab a seat by the windows, you'll enjoy a view overlooking Gurley Street and Courthouse Plaza. Also on the ground floor is St. Michael's Alley, a collection of shops and galleries. And here's something I'm excited about. The hotel's new owners are planning to restore and reopen a speakeasy-type bar in the hotel's basement that's below street level that hasn't served patrons for 40 years. The St. Michael isn't the only hotel that rose from the ashes of Whiskey Row following the fire of 1900. Just a short walk south on Montezuma Street, you'll find the Grand Highland Hotel. The 2-story building that houses the Grand Highland originally opened in 1903 as the Grand Saloon and Hotel. In the 1950s, a local businessman named Howard Hinson, the owner of a jewelry and curio shop on the ground floor, purchased the entire building, including the second-floor hotel that at the time housed 16 guest rooms and 3 shared bathrooms. Hinson renamed it the Highland Hotel. In the 1970s, he also purchased the building next door. That structure was sadly destroyed by fire in May of 2012. The result was the open space that is now the Highlands Holiday Courtyard, available for weddings, special events, and private functions. Fire and smoke damage at the time also prompted the renovation of the hotel itself, and today the Grand Highland operates as a boutique hotel, offering 12 historically themed rooms, all with modern conveniences, right in the heart of historic Whiskey Row. As I said earlier, one thing that has remained unchanged in Prescott since its founding has been a constantly increasing demand for housing and accommodation. Though locals today complain about the influx of new residents and tourists, it is far from a recent phenomenon. Beginning in the late 1800s, people flocked to Prescott, not only for mining and business opportunities, but the health benefits of the dry northern Arizona climate. In 1917, Hotel Vendome was built to help with that demand. As originally constructed, it housed 31 guest rooms and 16 bathrooms and was dubbed the classiest place in town by the Prescott Prescott Journal-Miner, a local newspaper. In September of 1919, an ad in the Journal-Miner called the Vendome the city's newest and most modern hotel. The Vendome has seen many different owners over the 100-plus years of its existence. Renovations were undertaken in 1983 with an eye toward historic preservation. The hotel's woodwork has been lovingly restored. You'll also find the original numbers on the guest room doors and vintage cast iron clawfoot tubs in some of the bathrooms. In room 16, if you're lucky, you might even run across the hotel's celebrated ghosts, a Mrs. Abby Burr and her cat, Noble. Things that go meow in the night. By the 1920s and the 1930s, Prescott had truly established itself as a destination. Its population had exceeded 5,000 residents, and its reputation as a raucous Wild West town was gradually fading as the names of famous figures like Doc Holliday, Wyatt Earp, and Big Nose Kate were replaced by visiting Hollywood celebrities like Tom Mix, Greta Garbo, and Clark Gable. No one structure better exemplifies the hospitality and elegance of that period more than the Hassayampa Hotel. Known today as the Hassayampa Inn, the hotel was designed by El Paso architect Henry Trost and was built on the site of the old Congress Hotel that had been destroyed by fire, yes, yet again, in July of 1923. Construction of the hotel was funded by Prescott residents who purchased shares in the $400,000 project. The hotel houses 68 rooms, the intimate glass bar, and the Art Deco Peacock dining room. It opened in November of 1927 and was named, by the way, after the partially subterranean Hassayampa River, Hassayampa being an Apache word meaning river that loses itself. The design is Spanish colonial revival, and a walk through the portico and into the hotel's lobby, which looks today almost exactly as it did nearly 100 years ago, will immediately transport you back in time. The tile work and the intricately painted ceilings have been beautifully preserved, and you can enjoy a ride to your room in the vintage Otis elevator, which is one of only 2 working examples remaining in the Southwest. Now, there are ghost stories connected to nearly every historic hotel, building, and saloon in Prescott, but perhaps none is more well known than the tale of Faith Summers, the newlywed who was abandoned at the Hassayampa by her husband on the couple's honeymoon night. Legend has it that he went out for a pack of cigarettes and never returned. Poor Faith waited for 3 days in balcony suite number 426, by the way, before she reportedly hung herself from either the bell tower, a rooftop flagpole, or in her suite, depending upon which tale you believe. Now, spoiler alert, I have to admit that in spite of the fact that the hotel's register, the local coroner's reports, and contemporary newspapers seem to be totally devoid of any reference to the event, many guests and hotel staff members have reported encounters with Faith as she turns on faucets, spills coffee cups, and wanders the hallways, all the while searching for her husband. Is it true? Was her death covered up to preserve the reputation of the brand new hotel, or was something more nefarious going on? Likely, we will never, never know. So, where should you stay when visiting Prescott, Arizona? Well, here are 2 pieces of advice. First, you should be aware that all 4 of these hotels have been maintained to preserve their original character. And when it comes to accommodations in older buildings, that generally means smaller rooms. So keep that in mind. Also, the St. Michael and the Grand Highland are located right on Whiskey Row, along with our famous bars and saloons. And even though, as I've said in a previous video, Prescott's sidewalks roll up relatively early, you should be prepared for the sounds of traffic and patrons enjoying themselves into the late hours. If that's a concern, you might find the Hotel Vendome and the Hassayampa Inn a bit more peaceful, and they're still just a block and a short walk away from Courthouse Plaza, the downtown bars, our restaurants, and our shops. I hope you enjoyed this look at Prescott's historic hotels. Hit the like button before you go. Check out some of my other videos, and don't forget to subscribe. Thanks so much for taking the time to watch. Cheers.